Nope. Yep, there we go. That should be working. An app that never stopped running. Hello, Tony. How you doing? Oh, man, hope you are both well. I thought I was on top of the world today because Restream IO connected to both YouTube and Twitch. Everything was looking good. Illegal. Keep claiming last. Everyone could claim first. Have my moments. Evening Mojo. Okay, so tonight is going to be hopefully not a lot of DevOps. Hopefully, I get more productivity out of it than this, but we're going to end up starting with why, why, why the console app starts up. So I don't want to walk away from the screen. Oh, better. So I've got console. I'm bringing the the containers down and working on other stuff, and then bringing these back up. And this one isn't persisting storage, so it means that the console creation is gone, which is a pain in the backside. If I run this again, it won't work because it'll just start. Although that's kind of the point, isn't it? Happening. There are too many arguments. So that's Gordon. Gordon's my console in it. And what platform? So yeah, um, fine. This is going to be the big risk eventually. Number of prompts that people are just going to okay past. In this, I'm just giving it access to files and letting it delete all their stuff. Found that the issue is in your command. A console key import expects exactly one argument, passing two arguments. std in and it worked. That's the weird thing. The order matters. Okay, so let's see if that fixes this. Go. So I could compose up. That should just run that one, right? Press that. Yep, there you go. That worked. Sweet. Gordon. Up. That's up. We'll play test. Then try and figure out what I'm doing tonight. Need a much bigger desk. Or two separate rooms, one for work and one for play. Right. Cool. I finally remembered to create a different Chrome profile for this, so none of my personal stuff gets shown or like that. So I thought work was play. If we're doing it right, yeah, that is the case. Um, if we're doing it wrong, that can be the case as well. Sorry, I've just got cables and stuff lying around that I shouldn't have lying around. Clean them up. Okay, so last stream we were kind of working on status, making sure we could update the status and figure the initiatives into their relative state. This one, two, I think you move these and get rid of this tag. Let me ask this. Would it be useful, the requirements, to have a status attached? Like, should you attach, or is it more, again, because we're going to transition this to ready for review, right? But once it's in planning, now the product manager can transition it to ready for review. But do you really care about the requirements themselves, or is it really down to the product manager to be doing that? I don't think a status needs to be out there. Family Geek, good evening. Hope you are well. Built any robot arms recently? Yeah, I gotta figure out that. Also, I'm stood up today, which is nice. But I do fidget, so I apologize if annoying. However, with a portable mic on, it does mean the fidgeting would be less fading out. Or no fading. I think what we'll do first is just kind of debating how much I want to review. Yes, I do have an NVIDIA in this machine. A 56. I um debate. Creating an initiative, the status should show in the list for the status of exploring on navigation. If the status should be clearly labeled. No, this is using. Why is it being Jottery? This is using. As you stickers last. Huh. This is using XSplit Decam. However, I don't like having the silly Elgato light, so I only have just one light up there right now. Oh, so it's probably not doing a good job of. And I've got a black shirt on in a dark room, so probably having trouble with the edges. Let me know if it gets annoying. Although my face is in the corner, just um, okay, so I don't think I want review there. I don't want to. I don't want to introduce that idea unless anyone has got anything that says, "Hey, it would be useful." So imagine there's a bunch of requirements, right? So a single deliverable can have many requirements. Those requirements, realistically, until you're done with building the requirements out, they're just sat there. You don't really have a status on them. It's up to the product manager to keep track of where they are and those things. And that's why you use it. So um, let's remove that first. Go over to Claude. Um, I'm not going to share my prompt because I keep leaving it up on screen, which I think is probably um, more annoying if I have to leave it on screen and start pointing at things. So we're gonna just work using Claude, and I'll share anything particularly interesting. So at this point, yeah, I only have Claude hooked up to the client side of this. I do not have Claude plugged into the backend at all. If I'm going to use AI for the backend stuff, all I'm doing there is asking it questions in the website. I might use some Copilot for a few things here and there in there, but I don't really have a fully initialized AI or LLM um, process inside of the backend code because I don't want to use it. I've been playing off stream with my game library again, and I've got a version that I'm about to deploy that I'm now ready, confident that it's the version I want to use. And backend code without significant hand holding will just not good. I just don't like it. But it works. That's the thing I'm going with right now. I'm saying that on little projects that I want to get up and running pretty quickly, that they give me productivity, things that you should throw together anyway. I'm not going to worry too much about the architectural purity or the design necessarily. If it was something I was going to grow as a product, for this, I'd pay a little bit more attention. Yeah. But at this point, we're going to need status and requirements. Good. These packages. And remove them quickly. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn around and focus on. Um, we're going to focus on the implementation side of this. Although I should improve deliverable status. Technically, what I'm doing. Actually, we should, before we get to the next phase, we should commit, merge, and get that done. But as always, if you have any questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, feel free. Hey, that's interesting. Definitely totally bring it up. I'll have to watch that later away. I didn't see that because I was already in OBS. Okay, so context requirements and deliverables detail page currently show a hard-coded for review status badge. The user has decided requirement level status is not needed. These badges should be removed. And we're going to change requirements component HTML, remove the badge. The rec header div will only contain the title, edit button group, which is fine. Okay. There we go, it's gone. Symbioting. Now we are going to post change. Remove requirement badge. I've been using my game library stuff. I've been using GitHub desktop, and the Copilot in here, notes it generates that night and day different than the Copilot generate commit in here. The amount of information it adds is insane. Badge from remove requirement badge. So I've got to be careful I don't overload the stats thing, right? I've got to be careful. Did he? Welcome in. How you doing? Um, Welcome to my have fun with Stony regime. Um, Everyone gets the first. So anyway, I've got to be careful that I don't overload the use of status. It's just going to get too confusing, and then we're going to end up with a music in this stream. Oof. I don't. I think when I started streaming, I think I put like a music in the background slightly, but it lasted all of about 2 streams because I was listening to it, and I can't focus on talking at the same time as music, so it just went away, and I've never missed it since. So this is has and always will be a no music stream. Um, so fun fact. But anyway, yeah, I got to be careful I don't overload stats because if I just keep putting statuses on everything, then there'll be a confusing state of, well, it shows this state, but it's got this state here, so why should it be in this state there? And how do we know this? So I've got to be very careful I don't overload that. Got to be clear. That's the purpose, right? This is meant to be simpler. It's meant to be opinionated, but it's not meant to be complicated. Oh, yeah, horrible. Anyway, that's another thing. Go here. So let's push what we have. Simple and opinionated. Are you building Stony? Oof. I think by the time Stoney's finished No Mercy, he's basically going to have developed his own operating system that just does video. Especially now with AI doing what it's doing for him. Like I think he's going to be like, why do we need Windows? Let's just build our custom Linux distro that's No Mercy Linux. Don't have to worry about any of it. But anyway, that. Now we will go to that. Don't give him ideas. No job with a Raspberry Pi is me. I mean, I'm tempted to ask Coda just to build me a clone of number for Stony. That would. I think even with AI, building what Stoney's got with normal would take a considerable amount of time. We're testing things next. Nice. Okay, so all I'm doing off screen right now is building, merging the code. Uh, example. I don't think foundation. What we'll say. Alski, hello, welcome in. Yep, Rider, yep, Webstorm. Uh, wow. Uh, not. I read that. I assume that that modded you for that one. I hope it did, because I do keep the little. I'm a little oppressive on this in terms of language and that. Have I brought class? There are no changes there, so we don't need to talk about that one. Okay. So we will quick review. All I'm doing here is I'm just going to quick review the code that I'm about to merge, do the manual merge, then on is not for any other reason than just keep the process in place. This doesn't do it. It does run unit tests and stuff when I push it, but it doesn't do anything. So we have the update phase based on deliverables. So this was the act of when we change the status of the planning of the deliverable, this automatically triggers the review of the initiative, and then the initiative says, "Hey, have you got any deliverables that are in planning?" And if there are, then it moves the initiative to in planning. So that was a test of that workflow, and it worked fine. What I was doing. Um, so this is the update related initiative command. This is triggered by the event of the status being updated. Again, my system is built in a lot of um, small pieces. So default is defining status. Yeah, we got event, deleted some files, perhaps some one file because they're just one line things. We change this out to strings. Made that deliverable status. That is parameter, so that's fine. Status itself, defining and planning. Awesome. The next phase, we're going to add the planning ready for review. That's the initiative phase. We need to add initiative. We needed to add in planning to initiative to make sure that that phase worked. Fine, but there's no transition beyond that yet. Configuration, we got that. Oh, okay. So can't review your own code, but you can. And I need. What I've done is I've started to, as I branch it, I push the initial change, and then I immediately make a PR so that I can see the changes sooner. I think it's working pretty well for me right now. Foundation has no changes. That's good. This is the front end files. Edit a document on deliverable states. So this is starting to add that out. It's also noting behaviors. This was so that I keep track of these things. State. Set it to defining by default. For review badge. State is set by the product manager. fine. Got rid of a bunch of the fluff because, again, trimming it down to just bare minimum. And full, full filter. Yep, fine. And the filter. Okay. That. Clean. Full. Patch. So that development's got some changes pending. Okay. So give that a second. Now, well, I checked over there and it said, no, there's no changes pending. Okay. A bug fix to do first thing. How did I miss that one? It is a risk that I constantly face is that I'm dealing with so many different pieces of the system, so many parts that I'm losing track of what I've done because I'm trying to be better at not hopping around and not doing too much in any single phase. But at the same time, if I have to go through that process every time of push the changes, do the merge, etc., will be slower on stream. Um, in reality, that wouldn't be that slow. It's not. It's not the most difficult. This looks very much like that's not. Um, Now that event there is in Foundation, so I wonder if I missed commit. We'll be able to test that pretty quickly by these are warnings. These not contain definition. So if we do Foundation out that, go away. If it does, why did I miss it? Yeah, that was a good for you, but only if you comment on them, just how to do that. It's just a process. I just kind of go through that process to try and um um keep focusing on doing less and not getting carried away with massive amounts of changes. Um, there is unit testing. There will be when I have the branches in place. I do have build of Docker images and whatnot. So there is some CI branches. They're missing that event though. How are you missing that? That's fine because that's just because I've got them. But that's a domain event anyway. That's not even a foundation level. If phase was updated from phase to phase, how did that even build? Most interesting. That should have. That will likely have failed the unit. Yeah, right now, I actually recently just changed the AI stuff. Uh, ended up with more to do there. But still, I do it just as a process. Um, I don't go through everything. Um, it was at one point. It's not right this second. It will be when I decide what this looks like from a deployment perspective. I've yet to figure that part out. Again, move to Postgres was to lower that cost a little bit. And I'm building my game library stuff that's using Postgres. That's going to do, I'm going to deploy that to a DigitalOcean with a dedicated about $25 a month. I'm going to deploy that in the next couple of days. And that's going to be my, how does this work? How do I set up CI/CD properly? Um, what does that actually look like? Experimentation app. My warm up, I suppose. Have a on no fatigue mat. Don't use no fatigue. Um, Nothing wrong with a 50,000 line PR. I wouldn't even want to dream what that looks like in this point. That now. Okay. Oh, they're common local. I love my private GitLab via Docker, being able to just post my own. Yes. Benefits there as well. Um, Ease of smoothing out that process, right? Rather than pushing to GitHub, waiting for it to start. Um, the whole DevOps piece of it is frustration I don't want to do, if I'm honest. Okay, so run, make sure we can still run the application before we start branching again. That merge. Uh, Deliverable. I think we got rid of something. So that should have all run up. Yeah. And things should work. There we go. Okay. By audio. Oh, because I went quiet. Yes. This is exactly why I don't listen to me, because I was texting my wife and my brain can't focus on texting wife and talking about stuff at the same time. So silent. Okay. So we have progress here. So the way this is going to work right this second is, or the way I'm planning this to work, and I'm open to opinions if you have any opinions on this. Um, very, very much something I'm kind of figuring out. The goal is that now This one's in planning, and I'm going to build out the requirements. And what I want to have happen is this should be invisible to any development team. The development team shouldn't care about this because this is in planning. No one really cares about the actual planning. Now, I could sit down with team leads, or I could sit down with managers and go through these things and work on these things. That's still planning phase. That's still working out the details. But only when they say, "Yeah, we're comfortable with that." You're going to move this to ready for review. So this is going to be the next state for this move. And my goal is that when it goes to ready for review, tab will appear here that has for review. And that for review will be things that your team cares about. Go back here. Now, part of that planning phase is understanding who is going to be involved with this particular deliverable. Not every deliverable needs a DevOps requirement. Not every deliverable needs DBAs. Not every, they might not care about this. Now, likelihood is DBA teams would be pinged on these anyway, because you do want, if you're introducing new features, the likelihood is you're changing data, adding. But if you're working on an initiative that's early on, then this might not have any DBA. So the plan is you will use the projects to identify that. So what we do, this might be a little tough to set up. Even Surly, how's it going? We go to settings, go to projects. Let's say we have, let's come up with a project name. Let's say we're project front end. And back end. With that for right this second. We then have teams, and team punch might be a back-end focus team. Hey Palm, hello, how's it going? Team Rabbit might be a database focus team. DevOps might be back-end, front-end focused. VA team might just be database. Annie, thank you very much. Appreciate you. Good night. Rest well. So the idea is the teams are set up and the teams have projects that they work on. That's the goal. Now when we go back to the projects, the teams projects, and now when we go to planning and we edit this, we can assign the project, and we're going to say this is projects backend and database. No UI for this example. Now, when I move this to ready for review, those teams that are associated with those projects will get an in review tab here. That's the goal, so that we have, it's just these projects, and any team that's associated with the projects will see it for in review, right? They know something's coming. Whether they're going to review it or not is not their call, right? That's still a management decision, right? But it's visibility because it affects you. Living the LLM code dream. That's kind of where I'm heading, and I hope that makes sense. But a user belongs to a team, and a user can belong to many teams. So Alan might be a DBA and punch, and now guarantee that Alan sees this one. But on DevOps or anything, then you might not need DevOps. So um, it's still up to managers to manage. I'm not trying to take that away, but what I'm trying to do is increase visibility. Um, you work a lot with cloud native things. Minio, it seems they kind of went paid. I haven't touched Minio yet. I saw you asking about this today. I've been playing around with my game library stuff, and Minio was the first time I'd seen that come up. They added it into the project. When I saw that, I'm like, I gotta go check that. But I don't have an alternative. So I'll be doing similar research to you when I come to deploy that game stuff. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, on objects. Now, have they gone developers, researchers, enthusiasts, small organizations, and anyone with a standalone deployment, and anyone comfortable with a standalone deployment? If you don't want the support on it, using it for production though, and you need support on it, then yeah. Oh, is it? Is it behind a login? That's becoming common. You can complain. You can always complain. Yes, seriously. Um, yeah. So the reason I'm doing it via project, so you associate a planning item with a project, right? The product manager is going to know which projects are associated. Um, I think you tempted me. Yeah, I'll give you. Um, no, it's not a distraction. I just don't. I wish I could give you a better answer because I've not been using this stuff. It is something that I will um, likely be looking at. Um, yeah, Python might maybe quit. um, but yeah, I just don't have any. I wish I had a better answer for you. Sadly. Um, yeah, funny how we don't, you know, uh, sorry. Funny how the languages we kind of we use the languages we're comfortable with, and then people. I'm just trying to look for something. I think if you're using the right editor, Python's really, uh, really easy to deal with, but you have to pay close attention than you are. Um, the new language is English. Um, I was watching someone. What was it? They were saying people are starting to basically use Chinese to talk to LLMs because it uses fewer tokens to say more. But then you've got to understand that it's going to reply in Chinese as well. So yeah, um, brackets. Scope is long enough. You need a bracket. The scope is probably too large. brackets all the time. Um, yeah, we all have our different styles. We all have our different mannerisms. And as I always say, the thing is, if you're working in a team, that's when you figure out what works with you and what you're willing to fight for. You can't always make it your way. Okay, so we're going to introduce what we introduce. We're introducing in review to our branch feature. Ready. I'm still trying to figure out, by the way, how I number these projects because unlike other products, right, where you have kind of your alignment with your product here, I'm cross product by design, which means that there is no boards for this team or that team specifically. So the deliverables are deliverables across the company. They're not deliverables across a team. So the partitioning there doesn't work to give me IDs. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to do that because when it comes time to build deliverables or build the implementation pieces out, how do I roll them up into? Yeah, because it's the one place where you start to get into how flexible people want to be with it. I'm like, um, how video languages complicated collaboration with how many people? Same question for me. I think several of us in here have been doing this for a long enough time that I think we get each other. Um, Deliverable ready for review. That's what we're going to work on right. They don't want to say anything. Fine. Um, yeah. So I'm going to do this. We're going to introduce a new status for the deliverable, which is ready for review. That will then allow us to add a query for the GraphQL side that will show when we navigate to ready for review, it will use our team. This is going to be quite involved. What says nightly about me, especially on Attack on Height. um, not that answered my question either, but I didn't really. Um, I think again I've got professional experience of Basic, of C Sharp, of uh, PHP, of uh, obscure Oracle things. Um, and I've got a bunch of experience in different languages at different levels on other projects, right? Um, I still take the opinion, I still take the path of on my personal stuff, it doesn't matter what I write or how I write it, doesn't matter how I structure it. You don't need to care. Um, I don't really dislike any language. I don't really think any language can't do what it does, what it needs to do. I think there's languages that I'm productive in, which is why I stay with .NET so often. Um, but um, it's always fun to have the um, us versus them sort of approach to languages. But at the end of the day, you got to be productive, and sometimes productive means compromise, right? So you gotta pick your battles. Like I said, if you get into a team, um, you get into a team that's using um, like C sharp in the weirdest possible way. Um, they're putting everything on one line, or they're um, naming variables using 8 case or something, right? Then you've got to adjust to that code base. You can't, and all the opinions in the world aren't going to change that. It's your job working there. Now you could nudge them towards better standards over time, help contribute to here's how I might standardize this and here's why I might standardize this. You should always have that sort of power in a company. But at the end of the day, you got to figure out how to be productive with everyone. So whatever language you're using, be productive. Um, like naming their projects with kebab casing. Exactly. Like a weirdo. I mean, I could happily put Kaizu.organization.management, Kaizu.organization.management.application. I could happily go down there and it just look like a big wall of Kaizu. And this is just a standard that I've come up with, the way I've done it. I just don't like that. And I think that naming convention came from Java's org, like the package style, right? The namespacing in the projects. I believe that's how Java does it. I think I've written all of maybe 2 hello worlds in Java. I've done more Python than it, that's for certain. Um, I loved playing with Raspberry Pis and stuff. Okay, so I need to figure out a plan here. Let's go to going to be a challenge. Distributed image search. Java. I mean, again, Java is just as capable as .NET. There's things that it can do that .NET can't do, and vice versa. There's things that people would prefer in the language, and once you've got used to a language, if you've spent 20 plus years working in a language, really hard to transition to a library, but at the end of a different language. But really, it's the frameworks and tools around it that make the actual ecosystem. Like, how productive can you be? It's why I don't. It's why I haven't just gone. Oh, I could pick up Rust, right? Um, I love naming work projects with the company's name and the name. Just offset the meaning. Yeah, that's exactly what it does, right? Kids play the floor is lava by component-based distributed system framework. Nice. Um, so we need to figure out what I'm actually building before I go too far, because I think there's going to be a few touch points along the way here. So I change this to ready for review. We're going to introduce ready for review and to make notes. That is going to update to um, the deliverable. That's going to produce an event. I'm going to put that deliverable in ready for review. And the reason I'm going to split it out from this view, by the way, pardon me, sorry, I had yep, pardon me. Challenge with not knowing how much crisp puts out. Yeah, The reason I'm splitting it out is because I think that this view is very focused, or this view will be very focused for the product manager, the product owner, going through this, identifying the requirements. So if I need to change this and change the flow of this screen, change how much information is showing, collapse this because this matters nothing when you're actually working on this, because your requirements gathering, etc. Um, so um, um, so I'm going to create a view that's specific for development teams reviewing these information. Right? So none of this matters. What matters is the requirements. So and the goal, and the requirements attached to that. The idea would be that they are building out the tasks for this thing. Right? So this behavior here will actually disappear. Well, the tasks will still show on here as a collapsible, but the add task button will disappear from here. The teams, I do not want to encourage teams to be working out of this screen. Right? The product manager should be able to go to the on review piece and show them. The challenge with that will be permissions, but we'll get there. For this, oh, we're flexing now. So anyway, yes, and this is still working by the way because all the data's that's it's now gone to make a query to the backend. So now that's why that's stuck. So I'm out of time on that one. But we introduce the ready for review. That's the first piece. Then we can display that. So we need to go to side and branch global ready for review. Feature global ready view. Um, might not be Teams thing might be difficult because I don't know about the. That's where I'm going to get stuck them up. So go to domain, apply objects, uh, deliverable status. We're now going to introduce ready for it. Status. Right. I'm not going to put the transition to in here because you can change it back and whatnot, or you like. Um, we're not gonna worry too much about that. Yeah, yes, and I know why it didn't fail before, because when you run the application, it doesn't include the unit test. So only because I built explicitly did it fail on these pieces. Create unit test. Field. That means that my test would have failed. But and push that one. That will create the branches outside. Create this pull request. So okay. Um, that's- now, nothing to do from this side because we will. Yes, because in this case, deliverables are updated. Status is updated from the client. The initiative status initiatives are the actions are done on them. So these are explicitly cancelled or committed. These are updated because they can flow. So the initiative has phase, deliverable or status, which is a study in using active resource for distributed systems. Anti is nowadays frowned upon. Optimization. It's going to be interesting, the complexity and ambition of projects that developed with AI, because the developers who do not have the experience of doing some of these things don't know what they're asking for, and if they get a hint of what they're asking for or what they should ask for, will they know enough about the pitfalls? So can you get the education? Because that's another challenge with AI stuff. You don't get the education unless you're actually asking for the education. Right? So I spend time, hey, can you tell me about why we're doing this? What are the benefits? Or keep it small and isolated and review. I'm experimenting with that on the game library application, and I'm doing everything with AI, except some refactoring I did today because it was driving me crazy. The migrations were terrible. But for example, I went through the effort on this project the other week of going through and um, being very deliberate about using this on Postgres. Right, when I moved to Postgres, I made sure that I was really deliberate that all my objects were correctly named on that side, but that the snake case was being affected database side, so that's all valid. Since learned there's an actual plugin, so that was awesome. Learned that today. But by default, when I created the new project, game project, I said use Postgres. Right? It named everything with capitals, which meant that everything got quotes around it. So the queries were horrible to write. Um, and had I not known that that's the thing, I deployed the project and everything worked. And distributed system stuff, either people will develop systems that are way too complicated for the thing they're doing, because the AI won't stop you either, right? It will not say, that's a terrible idea. You're developing a site for capturing notes. Why are you distributing it? Right? Why do you need eventual consistency in this? It won't prevent you from doing that unless you actively chase it for it. So it's going to be fun. Uh, most of these should be. Learning deliverable. Now there's not Mustafa. Let me replace me in IO. Yep, there we go. There's someone who's figured out that. Zero GC, math. Okay, they started the project last year. Nice. Um, Union Trap likely just get software and projects that collapse under their own weight in this organization. Happens already. You saw that one. Cloud became. Yeah, yeah. The bedding in phase, I suppose. Also, by the way, I'm unfollowed. I'll do the shout out properly this time. I still owe you one from last time. Narnath streams, doesn't stream too frequently, but I was trying to get back into it. Streams interesting projects such as his Auto Battler in C++ and his projects in Ruby. Working with, what's the name of the project? Name. Yeah. Very interesting stuff. And again, distributed systems, great deal of distributed systems knowledge there as well. So, very entertaining stream to go hang out in. Um, and also amusing watching him use AI because his deadpan humor translates into the AI, so the AI is answering it that way. So it's kind of interesting way to, to watch someone use a tool. So highly recommend. Okay, so do I need to change? I don't think I need to change very much on this to get this piece to work specifically. So let's go and see how difficult it really is. I'm going to try and do this by hand rather than have the robot do it. Just got to figure out how my application now works because I've lost track of some of this stuff. Features, planning. Oh, date. Where date? Well, how will it have broken this? Generally, this lost. This is the hey, I give up on trying to chase all this. I'll just let it be problem, right? Because I'm not entirely sure how to orient myself in my own code base. Not stunning, to be honest. Features, tasks, modules, planning, problem. So I've got mixed. I've still got the mixed features problem. Deliverable or eight or it did a whole lot of refactoring up. Kind of crazy. Not the same thing. Dates. So deliverable has status. This way. That's it. That's it. Deliverable stats label. Get phase label. Ah, that's oh. This is again because I called it a phase in One Piece. When it created these, it created them phases. Um, are you? Oh, there is a break this. I think now that status that I added in there has to be there because otherwise it will throw an exception. So I have to. I can't just make up something on this side. I'm still in two minds as to whether I do uh, deliver this from the server side because it actually introduces a quirky side effect by doing it that way. In that technically these statuses are defined in like the behavior of them, whether I can transition from A to B, etc., is defined in the domain. But I pull all my data from the previous side of the application, so I have to figure out okay, if I hard code these as objects and put in that behavior, then how do I get the list down to the client? So do I define them as table objects, and who controls them? Um, It's not the hardest challenge in the world to solve, but it is still a um, total finding total. Let's go real quick. How do I know that color? Oh no, I may have just messed that up. Hold on, we might have to use the AI, otherwise I'm going to complete big zero. Wow, that makes go about that. This actually realizes one of my fears is the amount of code that is done is more intimidating to um, change this. What do I do? So, okay, use the AI for right this second. Let's start with we need to change of phase deliverable. What do I call it on the server side? Matter sub line with deliverables. Deliverables do not have phases. That's start code reviewing. That job is I have lots of fears about what AI can bring to us, like the LLMs can bring to us, and I'm hoping that there's still a group of developers out there that um, hold out. We need the experience. We can't get along with everyone just being like, oh look, I can code a system in 5 minutes. Yes, you can, and that's scary that you can. However, can that system stand the test of time? I don't think these systems can do. Again, the whole distributed thing, like Pat was saying, right? Um, it'll just collapse under its own weight. Um, but will people of our experience have gone by that point, right? Um, People who don't know observability make that's again to Trap's point, right? That's an old school. That's a mentality that came around once cloud came around, right? It was like, oh, just add more. It's cheap now, way cheaper. We don't need to buy a new server every time. We just add more. That mentality was already in place, but cloud came around. It's like, well, just add more. Um, and then education happened, and costs happened, and everything else. And I think AI could go that same way. Um, I don't want to become a code reviewer. I don't. I don't like sitting looking at code. And one of the big problems we have is the amount of code that can be generated in a small amount of time. So then you let the AI review the code. Then again, I've used the game library application as a test of this, and it ain't pleasant. Horizontal scaling you need is a bright red flag. Which hmm, yeah, well, oh, they'll learn, right? Figure it's cheaper to buy another T2 Micro. Hmm? There's so many meetings. We're just going to increase the deployment size. But it's the same sort of thing, right? You can't argue with it when it kind of works visibly. Whether it's the right thing to do is not the question. It's like the right thing to do. Well, it worked. And I think that's another problem we're going to face is just this uh, um, yeah, it works. Sorry, I was reading Trap's comment at the same time, and yeah, I agree. Longer term, assuming it's cheap enough, you wouldn't be doing review likely. You'd have a collection of agents doing it, and your risk threshold would determine how many agree to allow the PR. So you end up with we need a quorum of agents um, agreeing upon the changes. Um, but I mean, I've seen already like what happens if you start getting the agents to review the code, and if they differ in any way, kind of challenging. Do they implement the changes? Do you just let it feed back into itself until it lands on? Yep, we're good. You're never looking at every holding the app server. Hostage doing 1 DB read, then 3 sequential cross service requests with no async. Are a taste, and the yes man is none. The answer to most problems with AI systems or AI. Self-serving as that sounds, at the end of the day, is about risk. At some point, the risk gets too low. Hmm. Yeah. Ah, okay. So that's how this did while I was chatting away. It's about to go and update stuff. It's changing, um, deleting the phase mapping deliverables. It's changing the CSS. It's importing, doing renames on signal methods, labels. Yeah, it's doing everything. I kind of stumbled my way through. Um, there's a technical comment. Economically, it makes cost effective. I mean, the increasing cost is interesting. Um, I'm watching. I don't know if you've watched any of his stuff. YouTube. I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head. Um, Alex Ziskin. Um, he's got some interesting stuff. Also, the one thing I didn't check today, by the way, I apologize. Is the YouTubes. Apologize if I missed any comments on. That's fine. No one's watching. Awesome. Uh, um, sorry, I was waiting on ads to finish. It's incredibly short-sighted. Add on that we don't need mentality. Guess what? I ain't working forever long. How do you get senior principles without juniors? Yeah, you gotta still know how to code. The hardest part of software development has never been actually writing code, translating requirements into something possible, and even that over time with enough agents is possible. But again, at what cost? I saw a video by Code Opinion today, and apparently um, Imogen made that comment. The hardest thing about software development is not actually writing code, and Code Opinion was like, disagree. I think it was. I didn't watch the video because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. Um, working AI, talking about axing junior folks, discuss more that junior people won't learn enough. Respect. will at best become sales with goals. Yeah, what's the problem? Mine. Yes, thank you. Uh, this change. Holy moly. Yeah, I'd have never got here. I would have never got here. It's still going, by the way. I'm looking at the changes it's produced, and it's terrifying. Um, did you just say where's the? Oh, oh no, wrong project. There we go. I was on the right path, just a bit far off. To change these to core status. Yeah. Um, Apex. Good evening. How you doing? Yeah. Boris. And my streams are early. Okay, so it did kind of did deleted that file. All these status phase. Okay, so now if we go into client planning, we're running backlog. This problem is, but this problem is one in all fields. Anytime things are easier, are from an age where we learned how computers really worked at the transistor level and had fewer people I've had in the past 15 years, 5 years. Python, and yeah, I think I'm probably in between there. Like, I didn't do much in school. Like, when I was in school, that was not taught. Um, or my curiosity that's got me to where I am. So I'm missing some of the basics, but I know how the computer generally works enough to know that I'm getting a lot out of C sharp. So I know I can dig. Um, Alan, hello. How you doing? Um, so okay, let's go here now. Edit this. Right, we still don't have this. What we're going to do is we're here. That's interesting though. Where's that gone now? Status mapping. Oh, it's made it status mappings instead of phase mappings. We've got under deliverables properly. Planning. Okay. Just made a new file and called it status. Ah, thank you for coming in. Um, um, it's just an observation. Almost what we continue to specialize in at the lower levels. You still need people who understand the lower. What am I doing? I'm editing. Why? Use your brains. Um, we have each. That's not there. Again, because I've chosen to do this path, I'm struggling more than I normally would. Normally, I'd have a feel for how it's done. Because I've gone through this and accepted that I'm going to go faster because of the tool, I'm now, you know, and yeah, choosing to do this on stream is probably going to be my downfall, but it's fine. Why is that saying status? Why are you saying status? Oh, because it is status in the um, I said all fields at any time. Wrong. Use division. Why not do it live? Exactly. What's the worst happen? False app features. Now, this is probably suffering a little bit more as well because of my initial structuring, and then I restructured it. I had to lay on a new layout and then had AI take over. So it's probably confused it quite a bit. Um, I did tell it, hey, do what everyone else is doing. Do that in different sessions. You'll get some interesting cross app features planning, deliverables, task mapping. There we go. That's what I want. So we're gonna do a oh no, we now now I'm stuck because it's going to take me ages to do this. So that's going to be annoying. I've got to use the tool if I want to make this faster. And I don't want to spend, I've only got an hour and a half left of the stream. I do not want to spend the time adding in a color, picking that out. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, um, need to introduce as, please add. Ready. Still here waiting for Judge. Okay, terminate. I think, I honestly feel that we're being that we're all around the same kind of years and jobs, etc. We're going to be okay. I think we're going to be okay to keep an eye on, less experienced developers, and hopefully we get more guidance from. I still think there's a big market for our skill set, um, to kind of help people understand how to use these tools. I don't think these tools are going anywhere yet. I think the cost is going to have to even out, otherwise we're going to end up with no one has computers because we can't afford RAM unless we sell, body parts. Can't afford graphics cards or computers in general. And I think there is a market for cleaning up the AI slop, but I think you'll clean up the AI slop by knowing what you're asking from the AI to build the AI slop. It'll reduce the AI slop. And I think there's a good area for us to mentor. Skills to multiply, you need skills to multiply, otherwise nothing. Right. I think that's what everyone's pretty much. I think we're all aligned on lots of concepts. Um, I'll be honest. I was very concerned. I started watching people accelerate with these tools, and I know that I've had default skimming the other week. It's like, can I show you how to use agents quick? And I'm like, no, I don't. I'm using them the way I know right now, and I'm comfortable using them, and I don't want to. I'm not trying to do this quickly. I'm trying to accelerate the pieces I'm poor at, so I can get on with the pieces I'm better at and enjoy more. I'm using it for. I'm picking and choosing when I get knowledge from and understanding the costs of what I'm doing. But I'm working on side projects I would have never gotten LLM. It work. Can't like without derailing my entire stream. I can't show you, but in the past week, I've built an application to track my games, imported the data from a SQL server into a Postgres server, added price charting and IGDB integration, added barcode scanning, added Google and GitHub on authentication, and I now have a game library app that I can actually post. I can put on the web that I can access outside of the house. I've added shared um, lists, so I can share the link with people that I want to see. Yeah, you can go and look at my game collection, and I can share a link. I've made it so that I can open it up and offer people to use it, right, without with isolation. It's I've accelerated that in a way I haven't been able to years, and I think I'm happy to accept that that code is not going to be the best of code. It put everything in the controller level, all the queries, all the logic, everything got in one place. Even though I told it, I gave it some guidance to begin with on design, it I failed at guiding it. Um, if I cared more, I'd spend a bit more time refining those things, digging in on those things, and I've used it in terms of that. There's a few major bugs that it's out on, a few major security holes it missed out on. I've added agents for architectural review, for design review, so it keeps on track with its design. Highlight some of those things. Um, and I think what I'm saying is, I think I'm going to do side projects that way all the time now because I can do things I wanted to do that I don't have the time to do well, and I can focus more on things like this. And it's why I'm using the AI for the front end of this because it's not something I'm really good at, an area that I struggle at, that I get bored of. And I was doing this on stream all the time. It's heavy in the UI, and I think if anyone's been here before while I've been doing heavy UI stuff, you'll see how bored I get. Um, Maintenance is the real issue. Um, and I think again, you've got to build that skill set of understanding what you're asking of it, understanding what the code's doing enough, being able to use it to analyze the code. There's a lot of stuff that you can do that make it better, um, but you still need to know what you're doing. Again, there's questions I've asked of it. There's things I focused on that someone who has no experience would not have caught. There would have been subtle bugs that you saw much later. Um, I build the application and I have the sharing implemented, and I go and I log in, and I've got my IGDB, my Twitch API keys and secret, and my price charting API key logged in as me. Great, I can link prices. The idea is that if you log in, and I said this, I did tell it this as I was going through it. I was like, as people log in, they should be able to enter their Twitch API key and the price charting key. I log in as a second account to test the sharing, go to the settings. I'm like, why do I see the key and stuff? Because it built them as a singleton, built them as one for the entire application. But I said for each person, that's why I'm building it into settings rather than. So those are subtle things that could potentially make it out to production. Um, but that experience is what, what taught me to check and test, and you can miss a lot of things. So yeah, um, don't do maintenance. Make tools do maintenance for you. Stay away from dependence as much as you can within reason. Avoid dependence costs higher. Make it slower when people use them. Avoid them less drift. You own the code, more likely to they want trade offs. Always, yeah. Um, I'm reading. I've been reading, listening to an audiobook, an architecture one, and I always forget the name of it. Um, but pretty much the mantra throughout it is depends. The most frustrating answer in software development. It depends. Um, it's kind of good to hear. There's some really good things in there, and it's given me some more confidence in some places where I felt a little bit more prone, a little bit more vulnerable. Okay, so we added ready for review. It added this in. It added the color. It did all the things. It updated the status store. It updated the mapping. It updated the deliverable store. Everything that auto derives from these sources will pick up the new status automatically. I think I would have stock in Depends company as much as I tell people this. That's it depends. Okay, so now we can go here and we should be able to do ready for review. So if we mark it as ready for review and save, nothing should break. That should go there. We should um, the follow-up of how it depends on its signal, but everything badly. Thanks for the like, Apex. Um, oh, maybe I got a bit better at shout outs. I do have mods, right? Who doesn't want to shout himself out? I haven't followed Stoney yet. I recommend following Stoney. He is on a crazy AI journey now. If you want to see AI done interestingly, including having a blog site up where his AIs lament on their actual development, which is fascinating. So, but he's building No Mercy, which is a media server, the effortless encoder. Effortless on your part, not his part, because so much. But fascinating development, lots of different moving pieces, lots of different technologies, and highly worth. Also, a good place to just go and hang out. Use the music a little bit. You can chase the feather, and yeah. 50 years ago, we said it depends. Now we're wearing them. Okay. So I was just delaying there. Oh yeah, I let my games date. Won't actually. That Docker container is brought down when I start this all up. You don't want multiple Postgres servers working. Would be bad. So in planning in our deliverables, we should have deliverable that is ready for review. And that exists there because I introduced it on the server side first. If I hadn't have done that, this would have blown up. Similarly, if I go to the view side now, by the time I've stopped waffling, a deliverable should have ready for review. Now a refresh of the screen proves that it's gone full around. I run multiple Postgres constantly granted in the containers. Yeah, these are, I'm just default out of the box Postgres. When I'm working on one project, I bring everything else down on the other. So that's what the beauty of Docker, right? But I leave them on the default port. So they would have a time. So this is ready for review now. It's updated this. This is now ready for review. So we're going to introduce a new screen. That screen is going to be pending review, ready for review. I think ready for review is a bit long. Or review, or just review. I think review is probably good. And it will show you. It should show a count. It's going to be an interesting one. Change. To do this, we're going to have to consider a few things. This query is going to be a little bit harder to do. Oh, for actual things that will stick around, I have a VM that runs Postgres, and that Docker Postgres is. Yeah, I don't have any. I cannot run things in this room or in this house. The power and network is too flaky. I have a wire going to the router, so I'm on, but the power is very weirdly shared. So right now, I need a query that will. No, everyone gets a first. That's the way I made it. You get one first per stream. That's just to screw with Stoney. Always claims the last one. Now, if I was thinking about it, I could put the last into, like, if I got a bot up and running and did that, I could disable last until the last 5 minutes of the stream and then make it available randomly. So you would have to checking on it. But it's just amusing. Bad the first. Wow. You know, the other day, the other morning, I was streaming on YouTube. I had 60 views in the course of the hour and a half stream on Monday morning. I've had a whopping 5 views on YouTube this evening. That's stunning. Wow. Okay, so diversion. Um, I'm test it. Test this is working. I don't think the restream IO bot stuff anymore. Nope, I did not post at all. Oh, okay. So, the review query going to be projects that I am the projects that sorry, deliverables that are in ready for review that are ready for review. I am the owner of product manager for team that is associated with a project on the deliverable. This might be one of the more complicated queries I've done on this system. So I've got two ways of doing this. I could create a for review. But hold on, let's look at the data. So users, user teams, project, team associated project. It'll be gonna not be fun. Okay. Now the entire point of this side of the system is that I can take the data and structure it in a different way if I need to, right? So I can make this combined to make this quicker later. But right now, I'm just taking everything. I'm not going to do any optimization unless I need to. That's the goal. So right now, all I'm doing is making sure that I have all the data that I need to display on the front end ready for the front end. If I find that there's a need to do some, you know, normalization, denormalization stuff, I will do it here to speed up that query side because the entire intent of this side is so that the query is fast. But let's start from deliverable. D join. Yes, there is a U. Each table has an ID. I use UUID to correlate between the systems. So when I insert a record, like again, there's the planning has deliverable over here has an ID, right? But it has an identifier. This is shared. So the identifier of this deliverable here will match here, but the IDs completely they don't matter other than joins in the data. So they only need to be going together here. I don't. That comes from not wanting to join on ID on grids. I probably will revisit that based on some stuff I've read on them not being quite as slow as I thought they were. So, but this is so that I have. But ultimately, um, I only ever share the public. I don't think I like it. It works for me, but you can still find a deliverable with its identifier. So if I say ID versus identifier, the only time I make that differentiation a bit broken is when you go down to the client. I refer to it as ID, but it is the identifier it maps back to because it doesn't. The database IDs don't matter. Good to eat. See y'all, Mojo. Take care. Have a good evening. But again, can be reviewed. Um, oh, anyway, what am I doing here? I'm actually getting kind of hungry myself, so my attention span is waning. Didn't think I'd be hungry. Deliverables, join. Go shoot some stuff. Always. Thanks for coming hanging out, Napalm. Thanks for the yes. Check that out as well. Have a great rest of your evening and enjoy shooting some stuff. One thing I'm not benefiting from here, by the way, by moving everything the way I have over to Postgres, is I'm not benefiting from Postgres's ability to do better things with the data, such as I can have arrays of IDs on Postgres. We'll deal with them just fine. I learned that one based upon my game library stuff. Different structures available to me. I started that. Yeah. So it might be that I pivot a little bit later on. And again, one of the big reasons I'm designing this way is because I can build a brand new view piece and test it in parallel to this. I can build a view that consumes the data and does whatever I want it to do. Even if this is live and that's what's being used, I can still build a completely new client. I can build a completely new view. I can do that without any effect on the rest of the system. That's what I like about this design. I have the ability to build things in parallel and verify things. So nothing needs to be, nothing is set in stone other than the amount of work it takes to do it. So, yeah. So, where do I deliverable dependency? Do I not associate them? Associated projects. There we go. Join associated project D on D dot. Now, when the data is coming in, it uses those GUIDs and determines whether the data's got. So for eventual consistency, I might get these events coming out of sequence. So I process them, I acquire them, and I get an ID so that I have integrity. So these all use the ID to join on, even though they're GUIDs. And again, that's just coming from a world of when I initially looked at this sort of stuff, it was like, well, GUIDs are really slow to index on, they're really slow to query, etc. So I think that advice is definitely evolved in that time. So, but we'll see. Join projects P on, that gives us a project. Um, oh, there's our P dot P dot title. Initial status as backend in database, that's fine. And then we have join team associated projects on join p.name. Should have. There you go. So those are the 3 teams that can be associated with this project, with this deliverable. Now the user teams, actually I don't need that, but in my teams, team ID has to be team associated projects. I can cut out that join. I just got to figure out where I'm going to do. Ads are going to start in about 3 minutes. If you are not a Twitch Turbo subscriber, a lot of Twitch, I would highly recommend get rid of ads everywhere. Sub. It supports streamers anyway, like you watched the ad. And he says giving an ad for Turbo. But I've used Turbo for years at $12. A good value. Yeah, like I said, the streamer gets credited as if you watch the ad. Way to support. Boy, you're seeing a lot of fluff on Twitter. What I'm debating is where do I put this specific? I could put a view in place. But there's more to this than just. So this might be one of the breaking things finally of this system, which is fine. I got to learn. The way this works right this second is one of the things I don't like about GraphQL. In this, I kind of say, "Hey, I want this thing." Right? So I want query, yeah, yeah, deliverable. So I can say, "Hey, get to me the deliverables," and this will pull my tenant. It'll narrow it down to my tenant, which by default there. So if you just say get deliverables and you're not logged in, you don't get anything anyway. But even if you do, it's limited to your tenant data. It relies on me partitioning it, but it is limited to your. Workers. That just shows me how much you're paying attention to my streams, Tony. Just getting on with your own stuff, not bothering to pay attention to the chat. Not even telling me you were lurking. Not that it does anything anyway, but Mojo left. He went to get food. So I do this, I pull this thing. So deliverables, I could potentially do this through filtering. Your people are way too behaved for me to. And JD started streaming. um, well, I'm sorry, our people. I attract a more mature audience because there's absolutely zero entertainment value. But anyway, um, so I could deliver this as a query on deliverables and do no filtering whatsoever on this other side. I feel that that would be wrong. Um, because what this does is this is linked to uh, a SQL view. So view uses views database, right? So this project is the single worst project name ever done. It is just terrible because it's so hard to describe, right? I might as well have called this GraphQL, but I don't like calling it after technology. It's kind of the view. It's the thing you see. What else do I call it? Um, so I'm going to debate. I'm having a debate, mental debate, as to you have CPUs that are sat on top of things. Fall. That's awesome. Um, and I put this in a view, and I make it work with a view. I don't know. That's the challenge. Um, if I create a get reviewable deliverables, get ready for review, right? So I can make another. Yeah. This is the best organization I've got for this right this second. So yeah. Now again, these basically just say, hey, you can have access to this object. So if I go to Nitro, overused name apparently, as I'll just call it Phoenix. You're signing in. You're signing in. You're signing in. Do 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 do. True. Ah. Session signed in. Um, it's signed in anyway. Awesome. So if I go to here, I can build up my GraphQL query. I can attach whatever I expose on here. So they get panning items, um, deliverables. I don't think that's fine. These are deliverables, right? I can say, hey, go get deliverables. That's this endpoint. That's all. Oh, raid. Thank you very much for the raid. Welcome in. How did the stream go? I was lurking. How are you doing? Welcome in, raiders. How things? Doing good. Did a bot dev, and then deliverables. That's because I'm building a tool around project management. Things are pretty well. Let's say I'm working on a distributed system. Bots with file terrain. Ah, fun. Ways of Welcome to my world. This is Kaizu. This is the design of Kaizu overall. This is a distributed system that I've been building for a while. This is a project management tool built because I don't like the other tools that exist. Um, it is an opinionated um, project aimed at trying to make delivery of software smoother, starting with ideas, moving through to the planning, and building out the ideas, actual requirements, and then moving forward into implementation, where you can go into boards and plan your items, etc. And then ultimately delivery, where we'll put things that are ready for delivery and track them right through to, yep, they've been delivered. That is the goal. What I'm working on right now is adding a tab in here for review. So when a project manager, comes along here and says, this is ready for review now. This is ready for developers to look at because I've gone through all the requirements, I've added all the information, we've had all the discussions. You can review this now and start planning it out, right? So it's going to appear in here as a for review and that for your team, for your project, etc. And now you can go in there, you've got a few minutes, you can go and sit and have a look through and see if comments you have or questions, etc. And you can go and review. So it's all about visibility and it is all about transparency process. So that is all done with just .NET. So the front end is using Angular. The back end is a rather large .NET system using Kafka, using Service Bus, using GraphQL, using MongoDB, using Postgres. A lot of technology involved. The system is not built out of naivety; it's built out of experience and desire to learn more. So building it for quite a while. The front end at this point is pretty much AI driven. I've built most of the front end over the last couple of weeks using a lot more AI help, but the back end, I still refuse to let the robots near, and I code all the back end. So the way it flows, initiatives are the ideas. They're the inklings of an idea. The business is going to build these pieces out. They're going to say, hey, we have this idea. Here's the business objective for this idea. Let's go and have some discussions. Let's figure out what we want from it, and etc. etc. And the tooling here is aimed at encouraging them to. That's what I'm focusing on, trying to get people to ask the right questions, answer the right questions, deliver the right objectives, and then once you're ready, you can move it forward into the planning phase, where product managers can now go off and define what it is on deliverable level. So the deliverables they wind up into an issue, right? Just go for the deliverables around this. We have a review date. This is a tracking thing for the project manager, so they can say, oh, we don't need to talk about this for a little while, so let's move this back 6 months. They can push that review date out, and then that thing will naturally come back into their view as they closer. I would have loved something like this back when I was working with a few friends years ago. Yeah, um, I'm very much aiming this. This is not going to be a you're a solo dev working on stuff. This is definitely for that situation where you have a group working with things. You back where are things? Where are things sat? And a lot of it is built. The premise I built this on um, comes from a simple phrase of passing the ball. And I actually wrote down my very first pieces of thinking through this were very much analogizing to a football game, a soccer game, right? Of, oh, you need this now. Oh, you need this. Where are we with this? Where's the ball, right? Where do these things lie? Which databases are using to store the data of the users? Uh, so there's very little user information in here. The tenant management has concept of the user, right? It has the emails and stuff there. Um, That's a Postgres DB. There are right now that data is not really replicated through much, but we have lots of different. It is truly distributed. There is also, I didn't show this part on there. There is also a backend system called Control Tower, which is used for. Thank you, Stoney. Thank you for the follow, Blacksmith, by the way. Sorry, I'm very bad at the shout outs things. I've waffled on far too long. If you haven't followed Catholics yet, I would highly recommend it. Fantastic game developer, fantastic stream, really good vibes in there. Great place to hang out. Highly recommend. But thank you, Stoney. Yeah, I use a lot of different technologies in this. There's Kafka, there's MongoDB, so I'm using MongoDB for changes because I don't want a relational database there. The schema changes, etc. I'm using Service Bus for kind of global eventing. I'm using Kafka for data distribution. Postgres backs most of the databases. They are, isolated. Redis, I have identity cache, so when you log in, so Auth0 is my auth provider right this second. You log into Auth0, there's no roles or anything attached to there. You make a request to the server, it embeds your permission stuff at that level. So your permission system is attached through the gateway as you make a request through. So as you go to a user, you can define Redis. Not like this, really? Not a fan of Redis? That's used because you could make many requests, right? And I don't want to keep fetching you permissions every time. So as I make a request through, it will go and fetch the permission. That expires every 5 minutes. So yeah, another one. Yeah, so the permissions are here. So this token is now stored here in the Redis cluster or Redis server. Yeah, so there's again, a lot of this is, I've been a developer for 20 years, almost 30 years. We're getting on towards 30 years now. I've not had the chance to build the systems I envisioned in this way all the time. So this is kind of my, hey, here's how I want to build it, see how it works, and learn some of those lessons that I lack when I'm working on products for other people. So this is kind of my thing. The code is not open source. The code is very much closed source. There are open source components of it if you are interested in things like Kafka tools and mediator pieces. And I'm more than happy if you want to ask more questions on things, if you want to know how I've done certain things, you are more than welcome to ask. This stream is never about me getting development done. It is always about me sharing. Yeah. Yes, there's Docker in here. So the backend pieces back this up. We have RabbitMQ in IO, actually in here right now. Redis, SQL. I've got N8N installed. I'm going to play with that at some point. Papercut, email stuff, etc. We've got console. I have console because right now I'm using it as, I could probably replace it with Redis at this point. Postgres, Prometheus is there. That's yet to be properly, but Mongo, and I've replaced Kafka with Red Panda. Red Panda is a little bit simpler to set up and a little bit easier to manage than just the out of the box Kafka stuff. So using Red Panda as my Kafka cluster. It also deploys. That's how I'll use Kafka without running up the cost too much. A bit more maintainable. So yeah, so there's a lot here. There's an awful lot going on. I am the only developer on this. And like I said, I've been developing this since I think late November, like November 2023. I started this. I've just come off a bit of a break for 5 months. So yeah. So if you're interested, YouTube, all the videos of our streams are up on YouTube. You can always see what this looked like 6 months ago, etc. There's a whole lot of videos there on YouTube. And there is a Discord attached to this stream. You're more than welcome to join if you have further questions, if you want to show off your projects, if you want to talk about this sort of stuff. You're always more than welcome to join. And we do hang out there in the voice chat a few times a week, most weeks. And and that's open to anyone, whether you do this sort of stuff, whether you're just starting out your development path. If you want to ask questions, I'm always open to talking. Oh, bad question. So, what I'm debating right this second is how do I do what I'm trying to do here, and what is the right place to put this. So, when this item is moved ready for review, and Settlix, I know that you normally disappear straight after you join. Thank you very much for the raid. Appreciate it. Yeah. So thank you. Docker, I just glanced. Docker is very good for you. Um, I just followed the channel. I don't know a lot of things on this topic, so that is interesting. Yeah. Again, if you have questions, if you want to know more, anytime you want to ask, more than welcome. If this can help you, if knowing some of this stuff, or even asking questions doesn't just help the person asking the question. It can often benefit the person answering the question because they might not know. Right? I might do stuff that I just do out of the course. I've learned how to do things, and asking me how do I do it might make me reflect on it and learn something new. So it's always really good, especially if you are a senior developer. Should never be closed to being questions. Always be really open to it because I think that's how you learn the most. That's how you become a better senior developer in my is by making sure that you are open to questions and not defensive because you don't need to know it. You can. So when this is marked as ready for review, I need this now to show in here. But I only need to show in here for people, and it's going to be really hard to test, but for people who care about this particular thing. So I'm on the team as Alan Butterley, right? I'm on team DBA and Punch, DBA and Punch, right? And the projects, backend, database, and front end, are associated with those teams, right? So you can associate projects with teams. But by virtue of being associated with those teams, I'm associated with those projects. And now a tab should show here for review. The purpose of this, rather than just show this screen. So if you've used Jira, use tools like it, oftentimes there's one screen you go to for certain things, right? So, oh, we need to go and review these stories. Okay, they're all in one position, they're all in one view, right? So you go to the board and you go through the stories and you navigate them that way. But if someone wants to see what the status of things is, they have to put filters on there, etc., etc. So what I'm trying to do is build those filters into the actual experience. And this particular view is built for product managers. Built for, hey, here's where things lie. Like here's the status on this, the review date, the risk of it, etc. The initiative it's part of, what projects it's assigned to. This is useful information if you're a product manager. If you're looking to review that information, right? If you're looking to review it, it might not be as useful. So for review, we'll show you the information you need to know, build the tasks you need to build. That's what I'm working on right second. But I only want to show you for review if you have projects that are deliverables that are ready for review. Right? Deliverables were originally called planning items. We broke away from that and went to deliverables because that's really what I'm representing. I'm trying to make sure I'm using the right language to encourage the right behaviors on the right piece. So an initiative is made up of deliverables. Deliverables are made up of requirements. Requirements are made up of tasks. And tasks are implementation pieces. So yeah. this query here will show me, okay, well, you've got a deliverable with associated projects. I didn't filter this because it might not be associated projects, right? So um, there you go. So there's these deliverables that don't have anything attached. However, in this case, I need to answer the question of, do I force? Because if you don't have it attached to a project, who picks it up? Can't work on it. Has to be attached to a project, right? Again, opinionated, forcing the flow, do it force project. So I have to assess, if I want to mark something as ready for review, is there a status, right? Is there a state of the object? I can't move it to ready for review. So there's no projects attached. Should I be allowed to move it to that state? And then do I do that on the other side? Do I validate that on the server side? Probably. So okay. So yeah, Jeff, thank you very much for the follow. By the way, I don't think I said that before. Appreciate it. Um, okay, how do I do this? This is the sort of thing I wish I had the answer for as I came into the team, but I don't have it because I've yet to figure out what I want to do. I want to try. This is using GraphQL. And the quirky side about this is normally I would not bring the DB context all the way up here. But in this case, having the DB context up at this layer with Hot Chocolate, which is the GraphQL library I'm using, means that I can get queries that are executed from the GraphQL statement. If I don't include a bunch of fields, are those bars full with widescreen bars? These buttons? These? Yeah. I mean, because if it's on a widescreen, that's like halfway across the room. You have to click on a label here, it's hard. What do you mean? I cared about the A/B matching. Left side is like no. I'm still debating this layout. I'm not sure whether I want to do an edit dialog here or whether I want to do a half and half sort of thing where you see the details and then you can hit edit. Yeah, this is still this is the cleanest version of this I've had so far, but I'm still not a fan of this, and I still have things like here when you click something, you can't click something to see it. You can hit edit and bring up the edit dialog. Do it because in here more than ever you want to see the details. Jira does that by doing the right hand side navigation. It pushes everything along to the left and everything goes there. Or in Jira on the actual Kanban board or sprint board, whatever, you get a pop up with the actual. I don't know which version I prefer. So we will be doing. I cared about the AB. Yeah. So this is the person. This is the assigned user for this task. You see this label, and again, I'm still not sure whether. Well, actually, when it's in the backlog, ultimately, I don't want to associate it with a person. The only time I want to see it associated with a person is because if we're being very opinionated, right, we should say, okay, it's ready for development. I'm picking it up, and when you drag it to in progress, now you're attached to it. Up until then, it's everyone. Again, trying to force those things like we should not be dictating who takes what before we start the work. So I know it happens, which is why I haven't really focused on that piece yet. But you're planning out your sprints and you're assigning the work to people before you do the sprint. Probably not as agile as you want. So let's do this. Let's visualize this a little bit, right? So clear that. Again, I'm using AI. I'm using Claude Code for developing these pieces because I'm not very good on the front end side of things. Not that I can't do the Angular pieces, but they bore me so much that I get slow and then I lose interest. So this is allowing me to stay interested, develop the concepts, build the things I need, and then the ultimate goal would be make this into a real product. Um, I would hire someone to do the actual Kaizu. So let's go and say we are in new concept station page for, I call this for review, ready for review, review, review ready. We'll just call it review. Review. This page station. Uh, if I'm using this as an excuse to write out the idea, and at the same time, I'm going to introduce the tab. That's all I'm going to introduce. Um, but it's helping me put that knowledge out there. And what I've found is I'm using AI very much to balance my ideas. Need to go. Have a good evening, Jeff. Thank you very much for coming hanging out for a bit. Appreciate it. You come in with the raid and the follow. Good rest of your evening. Take care. Concept here is that when deliverables are marked as ready for review, if I um, if I project attached, okay, we'll see how it does. I've just said, hey, I'm not ready on the back end yet though, so at this point I just need a placeholder. So I need the new screen, the new tab, and a coming soon placeholder. Please follow all styles our guys laid out. One of the things I've been doing along the way here is establishing the actual style rules, so that things are consistent. So again, if you notice the initiative screen, the item here looks like the planning item. Right? They're very similar. They have the general layout, and that's a very deliberate thing so that they are consistent. However, when you move to implementation, implementation is different people. They might not care about a lot of the fluff, therefore those things might not be focusing. The goal, however, is going to be this is the why, right? On the initiative, I call it the business objective because it's a bit broader, right? It's the This is the broad objective. This is the why of the entire initiative, but it still matters at the deliverable level. What is the why of this? Why are we doing this initiative or this deliverable? So if you're a developer, you're looking at the deliverable. Why are we doing this? This is why. You can start there and you can push back if you need to. We're going to add a route. We're adding some navigation tab, and that should be that. So we should, yeah, very shortly, we should see or review here. Which icon should the review coming soon placeholder use? Aye. It's a Geordie. Aye. Let's put it play out. So the debate I'm having over the back end is, I just say, go and get me the deliverables for review. That's a filter on deliverables. That's not even very much. I could add that at the GraphQL side, right? I could just say, hey, go get me the deliverables for review. The difficulty comes in the things that are attached to it. And I don't think I have that level of structure here to do that. So we might actually try and build it out in Nitro to see how much is possible. Now, if I was doing this for real, if this was actually this was the deliverable that I was trying to build, what I would do is, if I was building the deliverable, hey, we need to show the for review tab, right? Then I would push back and say, what are the rules on that? What should show in the for review? And the product manager would hopefully say, well, the deliverables that are assigned to projects that you are actually a team member on, you see them appear in there. Oh, great, that's awesome. So I go and see, how is that possible? And I do that pre-planning, so that I've got an idea of what's involved. So the time we come to planning as a team, I can say, oh, by the way, we don't have this, we don't have this. Oh, we need to add those things. So let's add them as tasks, prerequisites. So you're kind of building out that thing. And that's what I'm trying to focus on, is that ability to make this available sooner so that teams can go off and look at it. They know what they're about to look at. They know this is coming eventually, right? It might have a timeline on it. It might have things attached to it that you don't need to care about it. GraphQL also good. You're all happy with data loader? I don't think I've used data loader too extensively right this second. I'm still getting my bearings on GraphQL overall. I think I do use one data loader. A data loader. Subscriptions by deliverable data loader. So this gives me a point. Yeah. N+1 countermeasure. Point. Yeah, again, I'm still trying to learn how to use the tool effectively. How did I use? What is data loader? Try and use subscription. Add data loader. Subscriptions by deliverable data loader. That name concerning not picking up. There we go. Okay, it's subscribed. Okay, so that's that. That's a resolver. Field is subscribed, and I use the data loader. I get the deliverable by identifier. Okay, that's why. That's a really overly. This actually. Thank you for pointing this. I've only used it once. This initially did work very differently. Data loaders were added into hot chocolate after I'd done the initial stuff, or they were made more available. If you get multiple records back, they need to multiple records. Based on those multiple responses, data loader will make it work. Yes. So in this case, this might be my answer for that field. So this might be literally a do I care? Right? Should I see this? And should I see this is based upon those rules. I could actually put those rules into a data loader, which would then attach that. And it will be, yeah, do I care? Right? Because I have the user. I know I have the claims principal here. I know which user ID I'm dealing with. Yeah, I've got to do some more passes. I've got to, my intention is to full, okay, how does hotel fit in here? How do I use it effectively? I, I don't just, I've made some efforts and they've not gone very well. So it's more of a deliberate overhaul at some point. And learn, right? Because I've used open telemetry a little bit, but I haven't used it to the level I'm envisioning here. I'd love to learn more about tracing and those pieces, especially to do more distribution. I tried enabling tracing, and no matter what I did, I was missing something. I was missing some of the knowledge. So it is a drop in. I mean, OTel is available to me, absolutely, but using it, yeah. I mean, in .NET, you can turn OTel on pretty quickly. But again, using it. If I go to there, right? I do have structured logging. There's bugs, right? So the structured logging in place, I do have a lot of functionality in there. That's out of the box. That's just by enabling. I don't think yeah, okay, there's right. But it's to me, it's more. That's great that I've got some of that stuff. Um, but how do I use? Well, this is just out of the box stuff turned on. But how do I make it more coherent? How do I add more value to it? Be able to actually understand more traces. These are traces, but if we use this properly, we'll be able to say, oh, by the way, this called this, called this, called this. How do I trace those through? They don't have that by default. I've got to do some work. But this is just by enabling. So, yeah, Jaeger is waiting. Yeah. Well, again, I don't know if you saw before. Prometheus is in there. I do have a plan, but at the same time, I'm only just getting the complex pieces. Right now, there's a lot of crud, but we're getting to the complex pieces. We'll get there. Google subscription. Yeah, yeah. I've looked at it before. You might have to borrow some of your time to go through more. How do I use this? How do I use it properly? And which pieces do I need to learn that are? Because I know it's not .NET specific, right? OTel is a open standard by definition, but how do I fit it in? Look at Jaeger makes system better. But I still hold that it is a something I don't want to just throw at it. So that I understand the value and how to effectively add it in when I'm ready. and make it an actual one big effort to involve, so that then it's easier going forward to so, I'm very much aware of what happens if I just start tucking things in as I go, without real visual of what it is as a whole. Um, a lot of power properly. I have the luxury, right? Not like I'm delivering this product tomorrow. What I'm tempted to do here is investigate a data loader that then I can just ask for deliverables with the field, and by virtue of having the field, I can filter on that field, and that will automatically trigger the am I do I care about this deliverable? Give me that 5 cents of what I should use. Scaffold a starter app in your okay. I will take you up on that. Always open to learning more. Taking note. Okay. Do I do so what this does is a grouped data loader, scheduler. That's going to be able to do further data fetching work to match this. My brain is not quite fathoming what that does, but we'll find out. We pass in load the grouped batch by key. How the heck did I develop this? Working. So gives me a new context. I have the factory in do DI. Get the we get the connection. Go and ask. So here we've got an actual solid DB context, which is fine for this piece. It's absolutely fine. We then include the thing we're querying on, deliverable subscription. Then we include the subscriber in the deliverable where the deliverable identifier is this. So this is one of my also posits a quirk, but this is where my way of working slows me down a little bit sometimes, but also it's just what I've got to do right this second is just kind of pivot my brain to these relationships. Like, which relationship do I need here? Because what I could do, if I'm right about this, is I have the deliverable. I have this query for deliverable. I could call this same query and add another field on it, right? I could have an extra field. Now, if I'm right about how it behaves, is if I ask for that field, it will give me. I can add the resolver or is subscribed, and that will get me my data loader and load that data, right? And based off that deliverable, we'll have to see how quick that is. So if I don't ask for that field, I never get that request, which means I can use the same GraphQL endpoint and just ask for a different set of data. So I might write, I might write a data loader. So let's just, we just need to solve it within. So this is let's write it literally. It will. Should I review or can I review? I inject the user, and then I get. In this case, I get any subscriptions, and then I say where the identifier is not for this user. So what I can do then is, given the deliverable identifier, so it's the same sort of query. I create a um, deliverables for review data loader. Right, then we'll get there. We'll get that. Now, deliverable subscription, not what I want here. I need a compound object. This might be a little bit more complicated. What I'm thinking is I need to look up. So that's the group, right? That's the identifier for this deliverable. Then here we load that by its identifier. Keys contains the deliverable identifier, subscriptions, lookup. We get a list of lookup, period, and object we're after. Okay, that makes more sense. Question is, do I care? Do I just need a deliverable? Need a data loader. Really, it's this part that I'm joining, right? So I'm doing deliverables. I've now got to include the extra pieces, which I probably don't have, but include D goes to D dot. Projects goes to project. Oh, M's. Liberally turn off that sort of stuff when I. What have you done? Are those all the agents running in your system? Just make sure you back up your code and keep it away from from them, just in case they decide that you're surplus to requirements. That is insanity. I think it went a bit too far scanning for all the agents ever spawned. Yeah. Ouch. Oh, yeah. I might not have the so jumping back to this. I might not have the um, relevant pieces to join this up together. Because what I'm essentially doing is say where keys contains S identity. So where it's this deliverable, then I'm going to deliver deliverable to look up identifier. I've got to include the extra pieces. That's the quirky part there, because then this is going to be Chicken tail tail. Can I review? Current user eligible to this delivery. How they supply us is just mind boggling to me, right? It's just kind of crazy. So, hey Taylor, hello. Come on, you come lie down. Oh, we'll play in a minute. Okay. Taylor came to play. So I think this is a good direction. I think this achieves what I want. I just got to figure out the data ordering of this because this would be the deliverables for review data. So again, here to in the actual data loader where um, the dot status. This is where we get ready for review. This is uh, now you want out. You can't keep going in and out. Give me a second. Yeah, so I've got to figure out the relationships here to get this right. But I think this might be the right path for doing this particular piece, where basically I do the same. I do a deliverable query, but I say, can I review it? If I can, then it will only return me the ones that are ready for review, and that means I can make this query without changing any other endpoints. Would be can I review, right? Uh, default. If it's funny, this is so that the signature can be made, and it'll do DI for you. It's very strange, and it'll take the parent object. So it still breaks my brain just where these pieces get added, and so um, that will be the challenge. But ultimately, what I'm looking to do here is deliverables, and then we're going to do um, data load, deliverables. Load grouped batch 8. See, that's not the same calling. That's a grouped data loader. I might not need a group data loader, so I might have to look at my data loader options to understand what this is. But ultimately, I'm saying, hey, this is a reviewable item by virtue of us including that, and it's one of the deliverables we care about, and we're going to include these extra fields now. What was our query before? So we get to projects where associated projects. This might already, yeah, projects is associated projects. And then we go to the project team associated projects. But I'm going to have to build that relation. But I think that might do what we need. So, Anna, thank you very much for mentioning data loaders and figuring that memory. Yeah. Hey, hey. Okay. When dog finds something you have to concern yourself with, what? But my apologies for yelling oi down the mic. The wireless thing is still okay. However, I need to go get something to eat, so I am going to trade out. I will be back tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. or 8:30 a.m. Eastern. Well, hopefully I'll be able to finish some of this up. I'm going to hope I can get back to the computer this evening or this worked on. that will allow me to at least start the stream tomorrow, focusing on that view where we're saying, hey, what is for a view? But yeah. So, Tony, thank you very much for coming hanging out with me. Is there anyone we can vibe coding? DM Griffin is the only ones in development that will probably be of interest to people. Great place to chill and hang out. So, CM Griffin. Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. Again, if you are interested, if you want to chat, if you want to talk more about the software development, you're more than welcome to join. Discord is linked in the cards below. All the streams are uploaded to YouTube. I stream to YouTube and Twitch at the same time. Those are all there from all our streams. So please feel free to check them out. Yeah, I will be back tomorrow morning, bright and early. I don't know about the bright part, but yeah. So thank you for joining me, and have a great rest of your evening. See you soon. Take care all. Good night.